Booyah. 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 This isn't how you don't do radio. Booyah. Brody. Booyah.
Booyah.
Booyah. Booyah. Hey, how about this, man? We got a cool guy in here. He's our buddy. We've got to really know him over the last few months. And he's really helped Jay Brody heal, get better, take care of himself, and become less stinky. And we like him for that reason alone. Thank you very much to the one and only, our friend from VapeMoshi.com, Beju. How you doing, big guy?
I'm doing all right, guys. I'm doing all right. Coming off a little stomach bug the last couple days.
Whoa, stomach bug alert. Wow. Are you feeling all right?
I'm doing okay, man. I lost like 5 pounds in the last 48 hours.
That's sometimes the good part about getting a stomach bug.
I was going to tell Jay, I was like, this is a method that I'm not recommending.
For the rush.
It's effective.
If it gets down to the limit, if it gets down to the wire, my strategy is to leave chicken in the sun and then eat it.
We're like a day away from the rush to lose 40 pounds. Brody's got 7 pounds to go. And you're just going to eat raw meat?
That's rock-cooked chicken. I'm just going to put it on a chicken, put a chicken on a rock, and eat it after 7 hours.
Give yourself 24 hours of incubation. You're good.
Yeah, that's right. You got to do it just like or do it right at the concert. That might be your revenge for going. Screw you, Rush fans.
I'm going to clear out the front row pretty fast.
So, Beju, man, I just wanted to thank you again. We keep having you back. Jay's been very successful not having any cigarettes, and it's really a miraculous story. It keeps being effective for him. The guy's taking care of himself to the point where he's like, hey, actually, can you actually maybe ask Beju to go, even though, I could order him online. I want him right now. I'm running out of, what are they called again? The juices?
E-liquids, yeah.
Yes.
The E-liquids from VapeMoshi.com. And Jay, you asked for a specific kind. David. Yeah, we got David Sweanor lining up here.
Yeah, he wanted the custards and dessert flavors. So
so you really got into the custards, the custard section.
But, everyone has their own personal preference, I find. I have a lot of friends that I've got onto vaping, and it's just whatever suits your tastes more. And for me, I really enjoy the custard. So I've been, vaping nonstop, High Park, and I got some new ones Beju brought me. Ossington all day, delicious. Yorkville, fantastic. Another flavor, the Junction, which is my favorite.
So what's the Junction taste like?
The Junction's got a nice, it's got a caramelly, I don't want to butcher it, but it's got a caramely creme brulee-ish kind of.
Yeah, it's a custard. It's kind of a spicy, sweet custard. We try not to give too much away. We let people try them
and they figure it out.
Yeah, you kind of get some different interpretations on it, but it's a very popular flavor.
It's wild how the liquids from VapeMoshi.com have become like a fine scotch. Yeah. Or like a fine wine. There's a flavor to it. There's a preference to these things, and it becomes kind of like it hits your palate.
Oh yeah, we've been doing these shows around the States the last few weeks, and it's amazing. I go to these shows and you find all these regional preferences, and people when you go to. We were in Florida, and there's a big thing out there, and they love their fruits, and they don't tend to like the more rich dessert.
So they like the citrusy kind of feel.
Right, which is so appropriate. You think, right? And
yes.
It's like that everywhere. We're in Dallas, and it wasn't like barbecue sauce or anything, but it was they like their mints and again, it's hard to figure out why. You can't figure out why one region likes one flavor, but you even see that in Canada, in Quebec, the coffee flavors tend to sell better. You don't
have just cow flavor for those Texans.
Cow flavor, yeah. No, I was saying barbecue. It's a tough flavor to master. We haven't quite got there yet.
Isn't that interesting? Wow. So, but this is the things you'll sort of start to tackle what different cultures, and let's be honest, not stereotyping here, but what people prefer.
Yeah, there's no limit, right? You can think of anything that you could put into a food flavor or anything like that. We can turn that into a vape. We're noticing now. Coming up, we have some new flavors we're launching over the next 6 months or so, but we're seeing Yogurts are becoming popular. Cereal flavors are becoming popular. And it's just like any other industry where flavors change and you kind of get what's hot and what's new, and it's the same thing with us. You know, we're starting to see that.
It's pretty wild, man. And I got to thank you, too. Last time you were here, you brought in, well, I mean, it sort of just worked out this way. We got Dr. Gopal Bhatnagar. He comes in here. This is a heart surgeon for Trillium Hospital here in the city. But, I mean, this guy saves, you know, he was being very humble, but he saved hundreds, if not thousands of lives for what he does. And examining the human heart as close as he does, he notices that one thing for sure is that cigarette smoke just completely destroys it. And it was a really neat perspective. The video, if you go into the Todd Shapiro Show YouTube channel, you can catch it there with Beju and Dr. Gopal Bhatnagar. And, you know, until 14,000 hits. What an interesting community. And I notice this because of the comments that you get. Right. Not necessarily the regular Todd Shapiro Show listener, but it really is a community of they're unified. They really believe in helping each other, whatever brand you are.
Yeah, and Todd, you know, even more to that point, we don't get a lot of positive attention on vaping, right? I mean, there are groups out there that obviously try to portray vaping in a negative light for their own reason, and they tend to have more money than we do. It's just how it is, you know. So it's nice when you get a doctor like Dr. Gopal Bhatnagar on here, and he can actually speak the truth and say what's really going on with this movement.
Well, and, you know, I just like to learn, and we keep having you back because I keep seeing the success of Jay. And to me, that's the greatest part. We got emails. We got about 5 or 6 emails over the last few weeks alone. Yeah. I think I forwarded you 1 or 2 of people who are just are doing this and experimenting in something that maybe they never would have done. And I can tell you that they are so satisfied. And the most important thing you hear, and I don't care what anyone else says, and I always come back to this point, is we gave up smoking. Nothing else allowed us to give up smoking.
Right.
And that to me is such a win. I don't care. I don't care about anything else other than the fact of those words that I hear.
Oh, those are the best cases, right? The guys that really did try everything. I'm one of those guys, right? I went through the patch, the gum, the whole deal. So I love hearing that. I love hearing that that's someone who may have gone on smoking for another 20, 30, 40 years. And you know the odds, right? It's a coin flip chance that you're going to die from smoking.
And it really is cool, man. And before we bring on David Sweanor, who's a professor from Ottawa, and you've heard him on the program before, I will say that you know, there are naysayers from all this stuff, but you know, just become fully informed. You know, like if you're voting for a politician, there's naysayers of one party and the next. Become fully informed and then make your own decisions. Don't let other people influence you anyway, in any way. Just you can go and do these things. So I just think that's the most important thing. You got to learn about this stuff. David Sweanor, are you on the program? Are you there?
I am indeed.
How you do? Is that fair to say that go and learn and inform for yourself?
Yeah, I think exactly. I mean, there's a whole lot of people who want to attack vaping. I put them in the same category as the people who want to, deny global warming or support creationism over evolution, oppose vaccination. I mean, science just doesn't seem to move some of these people, other than to the extent that they can misinterpret some science to try to support some pre-existing idea. But one of the great things about social media, about the internet, about scientific research itself, is that we can get past people like that. And we do have individuals who are putting together terrific information. I mean, the CliveBates.com website. Clive's one of the brightest people ever involved in smoking and health issues. Fantastic resource for anybody wanting to get information on something like this. And one of the, probably the more optimistic views of what's going on, and you two have been talking about it, there's just lots of people who have now moved from smoking to these things. They're finding that it has worked when nothing else has. They are pleased. And it's everybody from, you got the guy you meet in the hardware store to somebody you bump into while you're walking down the sidewalk, to the Deputy Prime Minister in the United Kingdom, Nick Clegg. He was in the papers just last week, having tried just about everything to get off smoking for years. He says, yeah, I'm off smoking now. I'm vaping.
But no one ever says, yeah, man, smoking makes me really fucking happy. It's the best thing. I know it's great. You just hear them, I need it. Like it is. They get this kind of meth head look in their face, right, where it's like it has to happen to feed the addiction, not because they're feeding their health.
Well, I can't tell you how many times when I was smoking, I would tell people, look, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going. You know,
especially as you get older, that's the stuff you hear from people who smoke. It's like, it's just part of my life now. You hear things like that. Well, it doesn't have to be part of your life now. You can look into other options. I want to ask you something, David Sweanor, if you don't mind. You know, Beju, you're here too, and this might be the dumbest thing I'm ever about to say. But I was thinking about a guy regarding, you know, vaping, and, you know, I see the success of Jay. And again, I've said it before. I'm not perfect. I maybe have a cigarette every couple of months. You know, buddy has one, and I'll have a bunch of drinks, and it's like, and then I end up throwing it out after a couple of hauls in, because I just know it's terrible, it's disgusting, and really it just absolutely tastes disgusting too. It ruins everything else after, whether it's a kiss or a late night pizza. And I was thinking about all the doctors. You'll see articles of doctors really putting this stuff down. They're telling you not to vape. You know, and then you'll see similar doctors. And there are studies, and I sort of did a little bit of research before I put this sort of thought together, who are big advocates of vaccinations. Now, if you think about it, and everyone agrees, pretty much everybody, with vaccinations, the benefit far outweighs the risk to prevent curable diseases. That's what vaccinations are there for. However, studies, let's be honest, aren't 100% proven, as some anti-vaccine advocate guys will say, which cite the use of, and I can't say the word, formaldehyde?
Formaldehyde.
Yeah, formaldehyde and aluminum and mercury in vaccines is problematic. And, you know, even though obviously formaldehyde occurs naturally in the body, and aluminum is found in air and food and water, and the influenza vaccine is the only one in Canada that uses a mercury derivative. So my thought here, as wild as it is, to just think about this for a second, but smoking is basically 100% proven to kill. And you know, it will lead to heart disease, lung cancer, the list goes on, everybody knows that. Is it time that perhaps we take a look at vaping as a sense of vaccinating us against smoking? You know, where it's helping us. I mean, for sure, it's harm reducing. And despite, much like anti-vaxxers will argue, the potential risks, you know, it kind of makes sense to me in this sort of way as a layman. I don't understand how doctors who rip into anti-vaxxers, and they rip them a new asshole, can also rip a new asshole on the same who are advocates for vaping or E-cigs. Shouldn't these doctors, in fact, be more open-minded, as they're essentially promoting vaccinations, which I agree with. Don't get me wrong. I totally agree with that. But as vaccinations can be a cure and a rare, generally, you know, as a protector of diseases. But in the same breath, these very same doctors are shutting down the vaping community, which, if you think about it, and really it's just another cure by modern science, or at least a protector of another disease, smoking. And that's kind of my thoughts on this. I stayed up thinking about that. I wrote a lot of this down to make sure I didn't fuck it up. I didn't read this anywhere, and as ludicrous as it sounds, and I do understand that's a bit of a stretch, I truly believe that if modern science is helping protect us and curing an illness and saving lives, even though we don't know the full studies yet, and I'll put that out there, much like vaccination still, isn't it a no-brainer that vaping should just be endorsed more? And, you know, I just go on to say, I wrote this to myself one night late. I'm not sure why people, professionals, and doctors aren't more open-minded, more consistent with this potential cure, as vaping is proven to cut out smoking, and they stand so firmly on the subject as they would be for being, which they should be in my mind, pro-vaccinations. And it's kind of like a vaccination. That's the way I see it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm very willing to go first on this one. Yeah, I think, first of all, it's only a very small number of doctors, in my experience, who will oppose things like vaping, and generally people who don't know a whole lot about smoking, or they're on some sort of far less medical scientific agenda and far more moralistic agenda. You know, the same people who will say, you know, never have sex outside of marriage, we don't need to talk to kids about birth control, that sort of thing. But others, I mean, you look at the most prestigious medical body in the world is probably the Royal College of Physicians in the United Kingdom. And, you know, they're quite pro-vaping, I mean, in terms of replacing cigarettes. And I think the key thing when you look at any activity isn't, you know, does it have a risk? It's compared to what? So, you know, if I said I'm going to be playing goal in a house league hockey game tonight, and I'm thinking maybe I won't wear the mask, you know, because sometimes it makes my face sweaty, and that could be a risk. You know, I'm sure somebody would say, well, compared to what? You mean compared to getting a puck in the face? Sure, there's going to be a risk in wearing a mask, but it's a heck of a lot less than the risk of having a puck take out your teeth or knock out your brain. And it's the same thing here, that there can be a slight risk in a vaccination compared to getting the disease. It's massively safer. That's why we do it. There's still a risk in driving the sorts of safe cars we have now, or, you know, riding on the subway rather than riding that high-powered motorcycle with faulty brakes. But it's a question of, compared to what? Compared to, running around a minefield surrounded by Taliban, going for a walk in the park is safer. Given the choice, do the safer thing. And here we know that we could reduce the toll associated with smoking just dramatically. It would dwarf what we've managed to do in reducing automobile fatalities by, 80% per capita. We could do way more than that simply by dealing with the delivery system. Essentially, no smoke. I mean, this is what we dealt with in drinking water. It wasn't that drinking water itself doesn't have any risk, but man, if you've got shit in your drinking water, you get cholera. Take the shit out of the system, you solve the problem. And you think the same thing with nicotine. There's shit in the system. You're dealing with smoke. People are sucking smoke into their lungs. Get rid of the crap. You get rid of the disease. It's really very simple stuff. And we just have to keep coming back to the compared to what. And compared to smoking, the consensus of the experts I talk to on this is that we know that vaping is going to be at least 95% less hazardous, probably a lot, even more less hazardous than that. And we're quite sure because we know the physics. We know what's in the vaping products, and we know what's in cigarettes. So why on earth wouldn't we tell people what the facts are, let them decide, and make these products available to them?
Brody?
Lately I've been seeing a lot of studies and a lot of articles being posted all over social media that seem to contain a lot of false or misleading information in regards to vaping being they wildly exaggerate that it's detrimental to someone's health. And it's just been shocking me how frequent and how often these new articles are coming out that are put out by it's not scientific journals. These aren't like, this isn't Time Magazine. It's these websites that offer satire, or these websites that offer basically disinformation. I wonder where that's coming from, or where that's being, who's paying for that stuff. But I'm seeing it all over the place.
This is one of my big questions too: is who's benefiting from putting this down? And if you think about it, if you got rid of all the big tobacco companies and all the vaccination companies and all the drug companies who basically profit off of, if you think about it, really treating cancer, heart disease, all that stuff, what are we left with? Well, we're left with lots of people not making billions of dollars. And it's a scary, sad thought. And I hate to put that out there, but it's wild to think, why is this? Is it a reverse propaganda? I don't know. I just don't get it. Why don't you just want people to take a chance at living better?
Well, see, Big Tobacco's taken shots at actual countries around the world where countries have tried to restrict the imaging on cigarette packages, and Big Tobacco companies have sued entire countries which contain they have less money than the Big Tobacco has more money than these countries.
That was crazy. That John Oliver bit was crazy.
Amazing. It's astonishing, but it's happening. It's not even a conspiracy. That's legit happening right now in the public eye.
Well, this is one of the old kind of truths in life, is just follow the money, right? You're gonna figure out where motivations are if you do that. I think with vaping, it's exactly the same thing. We do have people that are putting out good studies, though, right? We just had one today. We posted it on our Vape Moshi Facebook page and out to Twitter. It was Dr. Farsalinas out of Greece did a study and found out quite conclusively that e-cigarettes are orders of magnitude safer than tobacco cigarettes. The nitrate levels were reported to be 1,360 times lower than tobacco cigarettes, and nitrosamines were between 146 and 1,447 times lower. The details of that study are on our site or on our Facebook page and our Twitter feed. I do think that information, and this is kind of going back to what you said, a lot of this is just, there's the health aspect of it, which is really just a true or false proposition, like David was saying. Something is either going to be better for you or not, and the health community seems to be coming towards our side. Where we run into issue is the social side, where I think there's a lot of fear-based reactions that take place with vaping. We've been socialized to think a certain way about what someone is doing if they're breathing out something that appears to be smoke. And there's sort of a gut reaction that people have. And that's been trained into people. And that's further propagated by people that have something to gain from from that image, right? So that's I think a much tougher battle.
Well, and David Sweanor, from what I understand, the sort of secondhand vape is like contains basically nothing at all. Is that correct?
Yeah, incredibly low in risk. So again, credible health and anti-smoking groups who have looked at this, like Action on Smoking and Health, a major anti-smoking group in the United Kingdom, or Public Health England, and various other bodies, again, the Royal College of Physicians, are saying there's really not very much to be concerned about. So, are there any things in what's being exhaled by a vapor that could potentially be of any concern to anybody at any point in time? Well, compared to what? Compared to having a candle on your table at a restaurant, the candle's a bigger concern. Compared to the formaldehyde coming off the carpets and in the office, the fumes coming off particle board, But if you compare it to cigarette smoke, cigarette smoke is really toxic. And one of the problems is that if we try treating vaping like it's no different than cigarette smoking, on the one hand, you convince people that something that's way safer, like vaping, is more dangerous because you compare it to cigarette smoking. But on the other hand, you're convincing thousands and thousands of people that cigarette smoke can't be all that hazardous because it's really no different than the stuff coming off of a vapor device. And, that's hugely damaging after all the work that we've done to try to inform people about just how uniquely hazardous cigarette smoke is. To try to treat something that is just orders of magnitude less hazardous like it's the same is misinforming the public. And when you do that, we lose credibility as public health organizations. But we end up, by misinforming people, they end up engaging in more dangerous activities. So the people who feel that it's okay to now expose your kid to secondhand smoke because apparently it's no more hazardous than vape, and they know the vape stuff isn't hazardous, or convince a smoker they should continue smoking rather than vaping because there's some worry about vaping. I think these things are it's unethical. It's reprehensible that people who call themselves public health, and some of them do. Some of them clearly are just moralists, but some call themselves public health, and they're saying things that make no more sense, than somebody telling you that wearing a condom could cause a problem, therefore you shouldn't. Let's put these things
Hey, leave the condoms out of this, all right, David? Hey, David Sweanor, where can people find you if they have more questions about this? You're such a well-educated and well-spoken, obviously, advocate of this stuff.
Well, I'm easy to find by simply Googling Sweanor. I'm the only David Sweanor on the planet, probably in the universe, or checking University of Ottawa's law school, and they can find me on the website. My email's there. They can get in touch with me.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. And I just wanted to set the record straight about the point I was making, too. I'm for vaccinations, and I believe, obviously, those pharma companies deserve to make their millions of dollars for doing this, saving lives, essentially. And I just think, though, doesn't it make sense that much like much like they do, why doesn't vaping companies also deserve to thrive at a business for saving lives too? That's the way I look at it. We should get rid of all the red tape. I think we should wake up. Helping humans live against disease, any disease, and smoking is a disease, should always be the end goal. I really believe that. Thank you very much, Beju from VapeMoshi.com. We always appreciate you coming in here, and we love what you've done for Jay Brody.
Yeah, I smell better, which has led me to smell worse in certain situations. So thank you for that.
I started this company just so you could smell better.
That was the whole goal, wasn't it?
That was it, man. I was thinking one night, that's the thing.
VapeMoshi.com, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. VapeMoshi.com, at VapeMoshi on Facebook, at VapeMoshi.
And if you have questions for Beju, make sure you reach him there.